Hi there, this is Ilise Benun, your marketing mentor. And this is the podcast for you if and only if you are ready to leave the feast or famine syndrome behind, and I mean for good. Have you ever blurted out a price and then instantly regretted it? I have. Or agreed to a deadline you knew in your heart wasn't realistic? Or worse, volunteered to deliver a project faster than humanly possible just to please your client. If you said yes to any of these, then this new solo episode is for you. In it, I'm sharing 3 quick tips to save yourself from yourself so you don't turn self-employment into something even worse than a job. So listen and learn. It's easy to feel pressured by someone who wants a price on the spot, and it's not unusual to feel pressured to actually pressure yourself when you desperately want a project or a client, or when you have a hot lead on the hook. Here's the lethal combination that might make you do it. Number 1, you don't want to lose the project. And 2, you hate the money conversation and you want it to be over as quickly as possible. So you sacrifice yourself and your income. You know what happens. That blurted price is almost always too low. And of course, they agree to it. Later, when you see how much work is actually involved, it feels too late to ask for more. Is it really too late? It's even worse when the price you blurt is too high, which can scare your prospect away before you even have a chance to demonstrate your value. That's why you have to resist that urge to blurt. Unless you are absolutely sure about the right price, the best thing to say is, let me give it some thought and get back to you. Why is that so difficult? All you have to do is restrain yourself in that tiny moment of emotion and pressure. If you can manage this, you've bought yourself some time. That way, you can give your price careful consideration, i.e., sleep on it, and talk to a mentor or accountability partner. And when you're ready, propose a number you won't hate yourself for. You see, when it comes to pricing your creative services, you may think your biggest challenge is charging the right price, but it's not. Because there is no right price without the money conversation. And that's a conversation it's your responsibility to lead. But many, if not most, creatives I talk to confess to actually avoiding the money conversation at all costs. How? Well, they take the first price that is offered, or when none is offered, they knowingly underprice so they don't lose the client. But that usually ends up being a very expensive project, emotionally as well as practically. So while this attitude may get you the project, it will rarely get you the best deal. So here are 3 quick tips. Quick tip number 1 is address the money question early on. In fact, be the one to initiate it. That puts you in a position of strength. Don't put any more effort in than necessary before talking money. Otherwise, you may waste a lot of time researching or even just thinking about the project, only to find out they have no budget. Say this, let's make sure we can come to terms financially before we get too deep into the details. That's it. Easy. Quick tip number 2, don't take the first fee offered. Sometimes the prospect will have a budget and they'll be upfront about what it is, saying something like, can you write a landing page for $200? Whether the price they offer is higher or lower than you expected, resist all temptation to accept it, just to be done with it. Budgets aren't written in stone, and there is usually some wiggle room that you won't know about unless you push. And yes, you can push without being pushy. So instead of accepting the first offer, see how much more you can get by asking for more. The negotiation will then take place within those 2 boundaries. So say this, well, I was thinking more along the lines of, and then just insert a number that maybe is double what they offered. and ask, can we meet somewhere in the middle? This happened to me recently, actually. An editor at a magazine I've written for before offered me $1,000 for an 1,800 to 2,000 word article with a deadline in 30 days. So that's essentially 50 cents a word. I wanted $1 a word. So I wrote back and I said, I was thinking more along the lines of $1 per word. Can you come any closer to that? Her response was to offer $1,200, which she said was the maximum she could offer, but she also brought down the word count to 1,300 to 1,400 words, and I accepted, but not without one more request. Would she agree to give me more time? I got it. I could have left it at the higher price, lower word count, and same deadline, but I like to negotiate to see how well I can do for myself. And that last chit hadn't figured into the negotiation yet, so it was there for the asking. Quick tip number 3, know how low you will go and be ready to walk away. The best outcomes to negotiations are always a result of a willingness to walk away. After you get your questions about the project answered, but before opening up the negotiation, you must have a number in your mind below which you will not go, your personal bottom line. And you must be so detached from the opportunity that you can take it or leave it, and that you will leave it if it doesn't meet your bottom line. If you do have to walk away, all is not lost. Just say this. I'm sorry we couldn't make it work this time. Hopefully, there will be another opportunity for us to work together in the future. Don't you want the best deal for yourself, if for no other reason than out of self-respect? If so, follow these guidelines, adapt the language to your own situation, and see what happens. I can guarantee you'll learn and earn more. And finally, do it with a twinkle in your eye. The more you practice, the better you'll get. The easier and more natural it will become for you to have a twinkle in your eye when it's time for the money conversation. I do hope you found those tips helpful. Your baby step is simply to notice the next time you are about to do this and see if you can stop yourself. If not, then simply take a moment to reflect on what would allow you to catch yourself, to restrain yourself next time, and then do that until you do. And if you want to build a thriving business on your own terms, the first step is to sign up for my quick tips at marketing-mentortips.com. Once you're on the site, you'll find lots more resources, including my simplest marketing plan and program. So enjoy, and I'll see you next time.